distant land. Our lives already planned. We came in ships from across the sea. Never again home we'd see.
Folks didn't know who I was or anything, so I was basically running down like how I became politically aware, conscious, and things that I've done since then. So one of the questions that like was comes up like nowadays is about like does Black Lives Matters, and so like I think the question should be like more we should ask us like does any life matter, because really I mean that's the way capitalism and imperialism has been moving, and the planet's almost gone. It's only water for like 40% of the world's population soon. Does any life matter? We know Black life don't matter. Black life doesn't matter here. We know it doesn't matter because of the Constitution. It still says 3/5, right? It still says, more than a horse, less than a man. We know Black life doesn't matter because of the 13th Amendment. It says, anybody convicted of a felony, slavery is abolished except for if you're convicted of a felony. And we got, 2.5 million people locked up, about 5 million already went through the system, most of them Black and brown. So does Black life matter? I don't think so. We have like one every 28 hours, according to MXG's thing they put out when Trayvon Martin was killed. And he was Trayvon was like the 15th person killed that year, and 313 people was killed that year. So we didn't hear about any others until Ferguson happened, And I think the only reason we heard about Ferguson is because the kid was like 18 years old, just graduating from high school, and still there's, when you're in high school, a lot of people or your friends or a lot of people are knowing who you are and what things happen, the whole school could come out. But if it's years later and you're out of high school and people aren't really connected to anybody anymore because everybody's gone their separate ways and somebody gets killed, you don't hear about it. Trayvon Martin, he lived in a gated community. We heard about it. It's just stuff like that why people, and then we got the media. The media is not like trying to make any connections for people or, put any stats out. They're just now talking about some stats about like who the cops are shooting, right? Probably because of MXG's thing about, every 28 hours. And that's some good work that they did, putting that together. But we also know Black life doesn't matter because personally to me, we have to be citizens. We have to have equality. And until we have that equality, it doesn't matter. They're gonna treat us like this. When I went to trial, it was an illegal stop, illegal search, and illegal seizure. The Massachusetts Supreme Court, Judicial Court, ruled that it was illegal stop, illegal search, and illegal seizure. That means that they broke the law 3 times. With the stop once, the search and the seizure 2 more times. But they said once the shooting started, that made everything before that legal. So they could break the law, and then if you, protect yourself, you broke the law. So it's they also ruled that there was an illegal bugging in my case. They bugged the defense table. And,
Really?
yeah, in the Superior Court in New Bedford. They got this guy who was working with the FBI, and they put a bug in, and they were outside, recorded it, bringing the information back into the DA. And so when we found out about it and filed a motion about it to get a new trial or to get it thrown out, get the case thrown out, the Massachusetts Supreme Court ruled again. That was illegal bugging of the Superior Court in New Bedford. But I still had to do 10 years because they said I have to prove what was on the tape led to my conviction. You know, so I said, okay, give me the tape and let me and my lawyer go over it, and then we'll see if there's something on it that led to my conviction. So they said, oh, we don't have the tape, we destroyed it. It's gone. So, well, how do you expect me? I mean, no, and I shouldn't have to anyways, because all I should have to prove is that you broke the law, that you violated my rights, if we have any rights. You know, that should be all I have to prove. You know, and then the burden should shift to you. You should have to prove that you didn't get anything on the tape. You know, but it doesn't work that way. You know, it doesn't work that way. And I don't know. I grew up in New Hampshire, and there's only like 2% black people up there, and I stopped pledge allegiance to the flag when I was in 7th grade, and never stood up and pledged again that flag. And you know, I just got kicked out of homeroom class all the time, not standing up, you know. And I mean, I couldn't keep saying them lies, you know. It's just one nation under God, invisible, all that stuff. You know, it's just not true. So I wasn't going to say it. And after I graduated from high school, I went to California. Went out to California to go to school, go to college, and I was living on MacArthur Boulevard. Panther headquarters was on MacArthur Boulevard, and I went to Merritt. I went to Laney. Huey and Bobby went to Merritt. They were like our sister campuses, so we had a few classes together. But I learned more out there at that time than I did in school, you know, about, you know, life and politics and everything. After that, I came back, I got busted for a bank robbery, and it wasn't anything political. How you doing?
Pretty good, sir.
All right. It wasn't anything political. It was just a bank robbery for, you know, personal. But when I got sent in, this was like 1970, 71, early part of 71. Someone sent me George's new book, Blood in My Eye, when that came out, and the prison administration said, oh, well, we don't know if we can let you have this. You know, so we wouldn't have this book. You know, they said, no, we got to talk about it. So they called me in and they said, well, we'll let you have it, but you can't let anybody else read it. You know? And so I worked in the print shop then. I just ran off like, you know, 50 copies, man, and just went outside the chow hall and just passed them out to everybody. I got someone to help me pass them out. And I mean, I just feel like knowledge is free, and everybody should have it. And if they didn't want me to let anybody else read it, then it must be something that everybody should read, you know? So I passed it out. That was around the time that Attica jumped off that September, following September. And I got out a couple years later, but in the time period, I read this newspaper article about this guy who put a bomb down at the Manchester police station. His bomb went off as he was putting it down, blew out part of his fingers. So I got in touch with some people that I knew that worked in this organization called NEPA, New England Prison Organization, and asked them if they knew him. And they said, yeah, and they were going to visit him, so well, I want to come up, you know, to there up to New Hampshire, and I want to see him. Take me on a visit with you, you know? So yeah, they did it. I went up, took the bus up there, met Jan, asked him if he was going to still be about the same stuff that he was when he went in. He said, yeah. So I said, okay, well, come see me in Boston. I'll be waiting for you, you know? Because that's, you know, kind of stuff I wanted to do. I mean, I just felt like I wanted to hit him while I was still young enough to hit him. I didn't want to get old and just be like, man, I wish I had done that, or I wish I had like, you know, contributed more, or, you know, I wanted to do it while I was young. And people charged us with being adventurous or being, you know, like, you know, just gunslingers or whatever, you know. But that wasn't what it was about. It was about making them pay. It was like in 78, there was like 14 black women got killed in Boston. And every other day, you know, a black woman was killed, her body was turned up dead somewhere in a trash dump or something like that. And 28 babies during the same time period was killed in Atlanta and was missing. In Buffalo, the same time period, 5 black men had their hearts cut out. And they were found in dumpsters and other places in the streets, you know. Every other day they'd find a black man with his heart cut out. It's like, look, this shit was going on all the time. Just like now, nothing's too much changed, you know. They're still killing us. And this cop was in the paper. He had shot and killed this boy named Levi Hart in Boston. He was 14 years old. And it was like, when Jan was talking about it, it was like, look, this cop's in the newspaper with a cigar and a champagne glass, celebrating the life that he just took, you know? I mean, if you do it, don't be boasting with a champagne glass and a cigar, you know, because you killed this 14-year-old kid, and this white woman has testified that she saw the cops head him, and they had him in the car, and then they let him go, and then when he was running away, they shot him. You know, so they just set him up and took him out, a little kid. So, and this stuff was happening all the time. The Klan was organized in South Boston, and then they had South Boston Marshals. They had all that busing shit going down in Boston, where the buses and kids were getting firebombed and shit. And they had, you know, this stuff. We just felt like, look, until these people start, you know, like, somebody's got to be able to, you know, like extract something on the other side. Because if you don't, then, I don't know, you're not taken serious as a movement. You know, I was working at Haymarket People's Foundation, And we gave away about $500,000 a year to people doing grassroots organizing. We raised the money from wealthy individuals that had inherited wealth, and we gave it to a community board and people that was doing organizing and told them to divide it up and issue it out to people, you know? That's how it worked. I was in charge of the New England board, so I pretty much knew all the organizing that was going on in New England, at least the stuff that we were funding. There was other things going on, but I pretty much could keep track of what was happening, knowing why, and I knew what wasn't happening. And it's like everything has laws that govern it. And no matter what you're doing, there's laws that govern that particular thing. And it might be one law that governs everything, I don't know. You know, there might be. But if you have a bicycle wheel and there's a spoke or two missing, if there's one spoke missing, after a while the wheel's going to get wobbly and it's not going to run correctly. You know? 'Cause that's what they have them for. And it's the same thing in the movement. If there's a spoke missing in the movement's not going to move forward correctly. You know? So if you have people doing prison work, and you have people doing housing work, and you have people doing anti-war work, and all this, but nobody's doing armed struggle, you got a problem. Because it's not going to work. They're not going to take you serious. And so we studied, you know, revolutionary movements around the world that have made revolution. And we tried to, you know, apply some strategies and tactics that was used in other places here. But each place has its own, you have to develop your own stuff out of those material conditions of that place. Nothing is going to work that was used in Cuba, or that was used in China, or that was used in Russia, or somewhere else, Vietnam or anywhere. You know, so we got to do our own thing here. We did a concert with Bob Marley in '79 for the liberation movements in Southern Africa. We raised about $10,000, which was peanuts, and sent that to Zimbabwe, to Zanu and Zapu. They had the revolution that year, so it was good. But, you know, it didn't happen the way we thought it would, you know, but we contributed to it anyways. And that was good. So after that, went underground. After the concert was over with Bob, went under, and I got arrested in '82. And it's funny to see how this arrest came down. He came, and we put the cop on the stand and said, "Okay, why'd you stop at our car?" And he said, "Because I wasn't used to seeing people of different races sitting in the same car. There was a black person and a white person, and I wanted to search the black person." So in his mind's eye, when he drove up to the car, he saw a runaway slave, you know? Any black person he see, a runaway slave, I gotta capture him. I gotta put him back, you know? I wanna search him. You got any papers? This is apartheid. This is, you know, this is Jim Crow. There ain't nothing stopped. It's the same shit. So, I'm like this, man. I give everybody their respect, you know? And I don't put my hands on nobody. I don't want nobody putting their hands on me, you know? It's just like that. So, when the cop goes to touch me, I just push him away, you know, and that's how the bus goes down. Because, so we asked him, we said, you know, like, how many black people had you seen in this rest area before? And he said 4 or 5. I said, how many had you stopped and searched? He said 4 or 5. You know, with no shame or nothing. He wasn't thinking, you know, like, he just said it. 4 or 5, so he said, and he was the only one that wouldn't let me search it. So like, I mean, it's fucked up in a lot of different ways. I mean, one, that I think that, you know, if those 4 or 5 people had stopped them from searching them, then I wouldn't have to go to jail. You know what I mean? Because by then, he would have understood that you can't just stop and search people because they're black. You know? But not everybody's standing up. Everybody's letting them search them. Everybody's letting them do whatever they want to do because they got on that uniform, man. And, you know, people gotta like, everybody's gotta do it. You know? Everybody, or we ain't gonna get our rights. You know, they're just gonna keep crushing 1 or 2 people that do stand up. They'll lock them up for the next 40, 50 years. And people ain't gonna move nothing forward, man. Nothing at all. So, I don't know, while in prison on sedition trial, where he goes, I don't know, I was on trial for like 5 years, and they hit me with sedition, and I felt that I wanted to be, you know, I wasn't going to be the first black president, you know, so, you know, and Jackie Robinson had already been the first black baseball player, so I was like, man, well, nobody's been convicted for sedition, man. I'll take that one, you know, so I researched it, and I saw that there's 2 brothers, John Copeland and Shields Green. They rode with John Brown at Harper's Ferry, and they charged them with sedition. And they argued Judge Dred Scott. And so, you know, they said, okay, you know, we'll drop the charges of sedition. And they tried him for something else, and they still convicted him and hung him, you know. But I figured I'd try it too. So I used Dred Scott, you know. And Judge Young in Boston, he's the top federal judge in Boston now. He's like, oh, I'm a great admirer of Chief Justice Taney, you know, in the Dred Scott case. I said, oh, really? You know, so I told my lawyer, I was like, look, man, just hit this dude, man, just get him. You know, so he got up and he started calling him a racist, and you know, how you expect my client to, you know, this straight up racism. How can you believe in the system if you're doing that? And the judges walked off. Right while he was talking, he just packed his shit and left, man. You know, it was crazy. So this went on for a while, and then I got found guilty. So I took the sedition, you know. I told me, you're gonna drop the RICO, I'll take the sedition. So I took it for like 7. It was like, it was hard. I didn't want to cop out, you know, but 1, they was trying to get me for 60 years. And 2, it was like, they couldn't really get, I didn't think they could get a conviction, but I had like I had no black people on the jury. I had one brother who was an alternate, and he had a brother that was in the CIA, you know? So you can read all this background stuff on the jurors, you know, like who they are. And so, and then I had a guy who had been to Vietnam. He was on the jury, and I had 2 women that said good morning to me, you know. But after they darkened the courtroom and they burned all the dynamite, they filmed them burning the dynamite, you know, that they had, and then they brought up the curtains and turned on the lights, and then they brought 3 shopping carts full of guns and, you know, machine guns and shit, and bulletproof vests in. And then after that, they weren't even looking at me. They was looking like this, man. I was like, shit, you know, like, ask them what they want to do, you know, because they're not saying good morning or nothing anymore to me, you know, after they saw that. So I told my lawyer, I said, ask the prosecutors what they want to do. And they said, well, 12 years. And I said, no, 5, I'll take 5. And they said, no, 8. I said, 6. I said, 7. I was like, 6.5. I'm probably for my life, man. You know, these people talking shit. So I had to take the 7. You know, I took the 7 for the sedition. And I was like, yo, how much I got to do on 7? You know? And I'd already been locked up 5 years, so you know, I just went out and took the 7 and had to do another 5. And I got out in 91. The year I got out, 10,000 youth. 10,000 black youth killed 10,000 black youth. So that's like 20,000 gone. You know, 20,000 black youth gone means that like they're not gonna be making babies. So that's like part of genocide to me. You know, like you might see some really young high school kids getting pregnant, you know, and wonder what that's about. They know that them dudes ain't gonna be around long. Instinctively, they know that they're not gonna be around long. They're either gonna go to jail or get killed by these cops. So they have babies young, you know. It's like, at the height of lynching in 1919, the Klan lynched 2,000 us that year. And after 1919, we have 1920, they said, well, we gotta stop just lynching them like this. You know, we gotta like, you know, do it legally. You know, so they passed the death penalty. You know, and Ohio was like the first state the first person they did after they passed it, they convicted them, tried them, convicted them, and executed them the same day. Same fucking day, man. No appeal there. You know? And then it's been on. But I got most of the people on death row. You know, what it is. And I don't know, oh yeah, so like after that was 1919, 1920, death penalty, and then just around that same time, 1921, you know, we have Tulsa, right? The Tulsa bomb, because we're gonna be down in Philly on May 13th this year, you know, marching on Philly because of the 30th anniversary of the MOVE bombing.
Wow, so 30th anniversary.
And y'all know what happened there, right? So then, 1921, they did it at Tulsa. They bombed Tulsa, and 21, 22, 23, all through there, they banished black people from a lot of cities. They just like would, you know, go outside the black community and just start shooting. Just open up, start shooting their guns. They'll line the street with white people with guns and just start shooting through the wood, through the houses and everything, shooting everybody. There's a documentary called Banished. You should check it out. Check out that documentary. I saw it on Stars, you know, last summer. And there was, you know, the white people to this day were interviewing these two white women on there, and they were saying, do you ever wonder why there was any black people who lived in this town? You know, and then one of them said, oh, I remember me and my sister was about 6, 7 years old, and I remember one night all the white people went out with their guns and they lined up across the street there and they started shooting into them people's houses. I do remember that. That's what she was saying, you know. So yeah, they had people talking about the businesses they lost, the homes they lost, you know, because especially in Tulsa, they had, I mean, it was prosperous. It was a black stock market, you know. They had doctors, lawyers, people was trying to, but the white people was like, nah, man, you people ain't never getting up. We're not gonna let you ever have anything. And just burn it down to the ground. So these things to me are gonna like, that's what I was fighting about and against, you know. And we got charged with 10 banks and 14 bombings, and most of them were around anti-apartheid actions, you know, before like Stevie Wonder and Jesse Jackson and all them started jumping on the bandwagon about ending apartheid and you know, sanctions and stuff. So, you know, like we did get some things started in that movement there. There's one around Almazoto in El Salvador, where the U.S. helicopters killed 1,000 people in one day down in El Salvador. The action around that. A friend of mine went down. He was named Carol Ishii, and he went down and he was fighting with the guerrillas. He gave up his white skin privilege and went down, took direction from them, and you know, he was killed after Almazote, right, in El Salvador. I was trying to get him to come with us, you know, but he said, now people in El Salvador is fighting now, and people in the U.S. are not, you know. He was working with LNS, Liberation News Service. I don't know if you know about them. They was this news service that like would interview working class people that was in the trenches, and they would tell their stories. Instead of other people in the struggle that they put as leaders, they would interview the regular bunch, you know. It was a good news service. Wow,
Rochester Indymedia, sound like.
Huh?
Sound like Rochester Indymedia.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's what they do?
Yeah.
We did
That's cool. It was called Liberation News Service. I think they were out of California. But that's about it. I'll stop there and people can just ask questions.
What inspired you to keep going with the bombings and bank robberies and stuff like that? Like what moved you to?
Well, I told you, I wanted to hit them while I was young enough to do it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, I just didn't want to, like, you know, look, man, after you study so much and you learn so much about the injustices, that you got to do something with it. And I know you are supposed to move a little bit before the lead, right, masses, but like, and it has to be a mass movement and whatnot, but sometimes, you know, like, sometimes you just have to, like, you know, give them a beat or something, man, for the stuff that they do, you know, like, and I did believe that in the focal theory at that time. I mean, I believe that, like, I mean, the Puerto Ricans were doing things over here. Some of the weather people was doing stuff over here. We was doing stuff. If other people started doing stuff, and it, you know, like everybody worked with the people they trusted, maybe we could do something. So it was, you know, it was a lot of other people doing things, you know. And when I got locked up, I remember in 81, it's New Year's Eve, 81, was it? Yeah, or no, 82, 82. To going into 83, New Year's Eve. I was locked up at MCC New York, and this guy from, I was talking to this guy from St. Croix, and he was crying, oh man, I wish I was outside, it's New Year's Eve, you know. And I was like, shut up, man, you don't know what's gonna happen. Anything could happen, you know, night's young, you know. And just as I said that, man, the whole building shook. Someone said, boom, the whole building, I was like, oh shit. It was rocking, man. Then another one went off, ran to the window, was looking out the window, they blew up 9 bombs went off that night, man. You know, 9. I was like, man, come and get us, man. Free us up. Looked out the window, some cop got his leg blowed off or something, messing with the bomb, you know. Yeah. The doors to this cop shop got blowed off.
Now,
It was good to see.
a lot of, you were in Boston a lot of the time?
When?
Well, it sounded like you were in Boston when you got arrested
Yeah.
and working in Boston. I remember, you know,
Yeah.
because Boston was one of the most racist
Yeah.
cities. Well, I don't know, they're all pretty bad, but I can remember the busing and the people, you know, and I'm always amazed at how, I mean, I didn't know, but when we started interviewing people, realizing that even though there weren't signs up, that Rochester was just, you know, as segregated as were in the South.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that people couldn't stay in the hotels. They came over here to Clarissa Street, to the boarding houses if they were in town to visit. And I think that there's just such a lack of education because our education system doesn't teach that. You know, they don't teach about what really happened. And I think that's, you know, when we're talking about education reform, that's something we really need to fight for too. Is really presenting the history of people.
Yeah.
Because I don't think a lot of people understand the history. And maybe if they did, there would be some more people getting involved.
All the history books, all the textbooks are written in California, Texas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, can you imagine? I mean, all of them come out of Texas and printed in California, and I don't understand how they can like just blanket stuff like that, or people just let it go down like that. You know, okay, these people are going to be charged of printing all the history books and textbooks for the whole country. You know. No, it's not their job, you know. If you look at it the way it really is their job. The way I looked at it when I got out of jail is my parole officer did everything he could to get me back in. And I had to do everything I could to stay out, you know, because I had a job 2 days after I got out of jail, and he goes to them and says, you can't have him doing this job. So I was like, you know, because I had a job at this organization called Black Men's Development Center, and what we were doing, we was getting the judge to release those guys instead of sending them to jail, send them to our program, and we'd help them get, you know, an education or whatever they needed, a GED or into a trade or something like that. And then help get them placed, and as long as they didn't get any more trouble, they stay out of jail. So the judge was doing it. And my parole officer was like, nah, man, you can't do that job. You know, like you just got out of jail. You can't be going to court getting people out of jail. You know? Yeah, you know, you can't do that, you know? So I was like, well, do you have a job for me?
Yeah.
You know? No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, man, you know, I don't understand. You know, like, you're going to get me fired.
So you said that at that time you believed in the Foucault theory of, you know, just people all in different places individually or, you know, in their groups focusing on something that might be the point of creating the change. What do you think about that theory in terms of like the Occupy movement and the Black Lives Matter? And the second question would be like, what, you know, is there anything, how much is happening in Boston around the Black Lives Matter, and what do you think about what's being done?
Well, I think a lot of those people, unless they know a lot of the history, will keep getting sidetracked and slowed down and
Co-opted.
Yeah, because they can't help it because they don't know the history. It's just like with affirmative action, right? Like, it lasted for a little while, and then when people started saying, well, I thought you said you didn't want it to be about race, you know, then, you know, now you got these plots set aside for people based on race. Well, the argument back then was, yeah, we didn't want it to be about race, but until it gets equal, you know, until it gets level, then it's got to be based on race, because too many hundreds of years you've legislated laws to keep people underdeveloped and uneducated. So now you have to open up these slides. It really was about quotas, but they wouldn't go for quotas. You know, they said, we'll give you affirmative action, we won't give you quotas. But the push was that you had to have in the schools, in the workplaces, the same percentage population per capita of black people working there or going to school there, as you know. And people don't do that. But look at in South Africa, right? In South Africa, they got quotas, right? They got parliamentary positions, seats set aside for the minority white population in South Africa in their new government. But we can't get that here.
The double standard is
Yeah. Yeah. And so I don't think that, like, until we keep pushing to make it more progressive than it was before, then Black Lives, that whole movement and stuff's gonna go, you know, continue to get co-opted, like my man said, or pushed back, because they don't know that history of, you know, look, you know, we had moved to a certain place, but now it's back.
And it seemed like the Occupy, I mean, I really liked what was going on around the Occupy thing too, but it did seem like a lot of the people involved in Occupy were, you know, students with debt and.
But that's all that was about, though.
Pardon me?
That's all it was about, wasn't it? The college tuitions and you know, how much they were going to pay.
I wasn't that close to it, so I don't know if other people have
Yeah.
impressions about it, but that was kind of my impression, was it was.
One of the strongest things that's maintained itself is related to student debt, debt jubilee and debt strike. But that was one piece of a wider thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering how you know, one of the things like Carter was talking about is a new generation of leaders. And that was one of the things we were talking about with Ferguson, is the young leaders that are being, you know, are coming up. Do you think that, you know, is one of the things that will help is trying to get new leadership and getting the old form of resistance and the old form of, but having new people come in who have the energy and the, you know, the connection to the young, that is going to make the difference.
Well, I think the new young people, the ones that's legit and got the real energy, they're not getting it takes funds. It does take funding. And the funding is not reaching them. Some of them are homeless and you know, are staying from, a bunch of them are staying in one apartment complex, being put out after 3 weeks. There's no stability. A lot of money is pouring in, but it's not reaching them. It's not reaching them. It's going to the organizations, and it's just not reaching the lions. It's not reaching them.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about that earlier, about coming together and being united. And I said, you know, everybody's fighting for funds. And unfortunately, you know, the funds, it's like, you know, you talked about Occupy. You know, after Sandy, one of the most effective ways of dealing with Sandy was Occupy movement, going in and starting. It wasn't the Red Cross who gets all this funding, because that's where everybody sends their funds. It's the same thing, I think, with a lot of grassroots places, is these big organizations that aren't really doing what needs to be done, and the grassroots are getting the funding and not the people on the ground.
And then they don't know the history, like you said. If they knew the history, they'd say, oh no, this is a trick. I know better than this. I know what comes after this. They're not getting the history. The only way the history is going down is, you know, you have brothers giving the oral history. That's about it. And it's not enough people doing that. Giving out the oral history. I mean, that's the only, our history is steady evaporating. Steady evaporating.
And after this generation, after like people, because I've been to so many funerals with Chokwe, when Chokwe passed and Herman passed, and you know, after this generation, Herman Ferguson, you know, Papa Ferguson, he passed in February.
Yeah.
And man, it's like me and Jaleel, I was talking to him today. I went and saw Jaleel today in the Attica, and I was talking with him, and it's like after this generation goes, they're gonna rewrite the history books, man. They're gonna rewrite them, and people won't know nothing about any type of struggle. It's gonna be really messed up. And look, quiet as it's kept, we got about 10 years, 2025, only 40% of the world's population will have water. In 10 years, will have water. 40%. Not even half the world's population will have water.
And too is that the whole Christian, I don't know, I forget what they call it, but you know, there's been documentaries about these camps that are run for kids so that they get trained with guns. And it's very raising camps.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
And they're like trained in military tactics when they're little kids, and they're being fed with this thing that there's going to be a religious war or something. But
you know, that I read, it was a big article about 3 months ago, and they had signed up 248,000 people. No, not that many. It was 24,000 people had signed up for this conference, which you was talking about. And I don't know if they weren't all young people, but this woman was talking about, was like big spread, went on shoot big pages in the Globe. She said she bought her son, he was 10 years old. He has 3 guns, he's 11. When he was 10, she bought him an AR-15, and when he was 11, she bought him a 20-gauge shotgun and another gun. So he got 3 guns now. He's 11 years old, and he goes to this range, and it was like all these kids, like what you was talking about in this camp training, and it's like crazy number, like maybe it was 2,480 something people signed up for this thing, and I was like, damn, this is like all these kids is like. Red states, they're all white kids, right? They're all white kids in the city. They take buybacks and taking the guns for people. And in the suburbs and out in these places, they're training their people. So, and then last year, Homeland Security bought 1 billion rounds of hollow points, 45 hollow points, 1 billion. So what do they need 1 billion hollow points? Not for target practice, not hollow points, They got 1 billion rounds, and you see, I don't know, man, I don't want to get sidetracked. But they got stuff set. They're getting ready to do something or preparing for something. People ought to look out.
What do you see as the focus point right now? Because I feel like there's climate, there's the war in Iraq, Afghanistan, the Middle East, there's stuff going on domestically. What do you when you're going you had actions against apartheid in South Africa, you had the Vietnam War, what kinds of stuff do you see now as focal points we need to really be focused?
I just think that through this period is prisons. This is just like it was civil rights movement then, and now it's prisons.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. They're and this country is just one big prison, just like Malcolm said. It's like this is minimum security,
right.
And it really is. People can see it now. You gotta have. They took my picture, man, this morning, going in to see, Jaleel. You can take out my picture. I'm not locked up.
Yeah.
But damn, they got your picture, all your information. Lucky they didn't take fingerprint and DNA, man. Shit.
And it's only if you want social services. If you're poor, then they take your fingerprints.
Well, I've worked a lot on, I'm not very active at this point, but done a lot of anti-prison work and that kind of thing. And I think that the along with the prisons is the sort of police state and, social control of the powers that be. And, the prisons are a continuum, and it feels to me like so-called free young black men being shot on the street is sort of the most extreme expression of the sickness of the dominating society of which I'm a member. And I don't know, I've been really moved by that, and it's interesting to see how many other people have been moved, even though we all kind of have acknowledged that this history isn't there, but it seems like there's traction there. If there was, because there's things that have happened sort of spontaneously all over the country. I was traveling to see my mother, and I was in eastern Washington, and a couple of weeks after that, a Mexican guy got shot in the back by the cops and killed. and they had this was after Michael Brown, and they had a Brown Lives Matter thing in this very small farming town in eastern Washington. And so it seems like something that moves people in a way that, like prisons, there's a certain, like, you know, there's a lot of people that don't even care about what happens in the prisons. Like, you know, they don't want to think about it. They don't want to have any empathy. I've talked to a lot of really left-leaning people that I thought, oh, hey, here's my newsletter that I'm working on as a volunteer, and I'll give it to them. And, you know, they read it and they come back and they make some really trite comment about what they read. And it's just really frustrating to try and, you know, expand the group of people that cares about prisoners being abused.
Mm-hmm.
What newspaper or newsletter do you work on?
Oh, it's a little local newspaper.
Do you want to just say the name or?
I keep things, you know.
Okay, all right.
Sorry.
You gotta know something wrong with the prison system when men are arrested for gang assault and get a slap on the wrist. Ain't nobody out here, if they get arrested for gang assault, they getting 30 years. They're getting 30 years. These guys just, all they did was lost their job.
Oh, the etiquette guys.
Yeah.
The guards.
Yeah.
Still get their pensions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't, I think they didn't even get fired from it. They said, we're gonna resign from our job.
Yeah.
So they get all the benefits and,
Yeah, right. It's a great
and everything.
thing.
So what's it's just crazy, man.
Yeah.
But how, I guess the thing, how do we get to a point? I mean, I think that Black Lives Matter has gotten a discussion going in areas that I've never seen it,
Yeah.
racism talked about. But how do we get it moving to get it real change? That's,
Well,
I mean, we do the marches and we do the civil disobedience and that, but it seems like it's just, sometimes it's so surmountable. You want to just pull your hair up.
Yeah.
I feel like education is probably one of the top things. I mean, before I met all of you, I had no clue. I was like, oh, people are in prison because they did something bad. They should be there. They should, I don't care. They have their TV, they have their meals, they're living better than me. That whole mentality. And I think until you get to know people in the system, get to talk to people, it really changes your feeling. You're like, holy cow, all this stuff that I've ever thought is so far from the truth. But so many Americans are so wrapped up thinking that. And, I mean, just with that police officer that got killed in Rochester. Police are killing so many, young black men at this insurmountable rate. And yet this one police officer gets killed in Rochester and the whole city is like,
Well, not the whole city.
okay, most of the city is like, oh, we have to put this guy on a pedestal. Him, this family, oh, the poor family, oh, this, oh, that. It just,
I
it's...
think
Still doing fundraisers, right?
Yeah,
Right now.
the wife was on the cover of like the Women magazine in Rochester,
See, you know what I
holding her
think?
husband's picture.
I think people need to do is they need to snap it right back in this perspective and say, look, these people aren't heroes. They get paid.
Exactly.
They get paid to do this job. They go into this job with their eyes open and they say they choose this profession.
Right.
They don't have to do it, and they do it, and they get paid very well.
Exactly.
That's their job. They're not heroes. You're a hero if you do it when it's not your job.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't get paid. When you just stunk around walking down the street and somebody's in there in the fire, you go in and pull them out the fire, then that person might be a hero, but somebody that's getting paid, a fireman, nah, man, we pay them to do that shit.
Right.
And people ought to write that stuff to them and snap them back there in perspective and say, why are we doing this, man? Like, don't they, that's what they get paid for. Then
Right.
he said that's what he wanted to do.
Right.
He wanted to put on a badge and go out there and do that. 'Cause that's what he liked to do. So that's the risk of the job, man. You know?
But education is the thing. That's why there was a big problem in New York State here about when they mentioned letting prisoners get some college education. It was a big uproar. Absolutely not. I had to pay for it. They should pay for it. But what it is they need them to stay stuck on stupid. They got all them shops, and I know the shops in Attica and Comstock and Clinton, even in Green Haven. The machines that they're teaching you, they're outdated machines. They're training them in there on stuff that nobody uses that stuff anymore. So you're learning nothing. And so the recidivism rate stays where it is. In fact, it increases. But then people that they don't want educated, they don't want them to come move next door to them.
Exactly.
You know, it's education is really, in my book, it's always been. That's Nat Turner. Nat Turner was an educated black man, and that was his biggest crime.
But you see, man, since 1985, there was a study came out of Harvard, Peter Elkin wrote it, that recidivism rate was 0 for people who got a college education while in prison. And that's when they cut the Pell Grant. They said nobody can get an education anymore.
They don't want that.
No, they know what the answers are, man. This is running exactly the way they want it to run. This is running just the way they want it to run.
The system's not broken. It's working perfectly well. Right?
Yeah. People are making money.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, I was saying about the poverty committee that they formed here in Rochester. But they don't have anybody who's working on poverty. Lovey Warren and...
Look, man, they talking about the middle class, man.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to talk about the middle class, man. They ain't talking about the poor people.
Yeah. They don't have people that are going to have the answers and interested in really solving the problem. They got the people who want to be on the committee so they can say, see, I'm doing something, where they're not.
Did you ever do any reading or studies of the, like this, I don't know if it's just the Zapatistas or if it predated like the autonomous zones, the autonomous zone theory of the Zapatistas?
No, I like it though.
So, because they fought and got that piece of land in Mexico.
Chiapas, yeah.
Chiapas, right.
We need some liberated zones here.
This is sort of an autonomous zone, but
Right,
not
right.
really,
Man, we need some real ones.
Yeah.
Like homeschooling and, things that pull people out of like the indoctrination into the, at a young age.
Yeah, we need our own, we need our own, develop our own food, growing our own food, get water.
And that's what Move tried to do, and
Yeah,
see what happened to them.
I know. Hey,
Oh, you never...
it's
Do you know about
Move.
The Move,
Move House?
yeah, the Move House.
Yeah.
They were just trying to do their own thing, and
Yeah, I don't think you can do it in the city though.
No, they weren't having it here. They
Oh, I have a
not
friend.
here. They had moved here.
oh, that's right. That's right.
They what?
They had a house in Rochester.
I forgot about that.
They did?
Yeah. When Ramona was in Buffalo, I asked her, I was talking to her, and she was talking about Rochester and at least have a house maybe on the north side here.
No, actually over here by Flint Street.
Oh, okay, so we're
Right,
close,
right by Flint Street.
Looks like they're far away.
Before they went to Philly?
I don't know if it was, do you know when the house was?
During the same time, no, after.
After.
Yeah, they always talk about that.
And that amazes me that you don't learn about that in school.
Move?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's just unbelievable what they teach you and what they don't teach
You
you.
don't learn about Nat Turner in school.
Yeah.
Yeah, he should be have a holiday. He should have a holiday, man.
Did anybody ever read a book called Black Thunder?
No.
It's about another rebellion, not Nat Turner, but it was like I bumped into it like 10 years ago. And I read it. It's the first time I ever heard of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, that's, you know, but how do you, I mean, we have discussions, we have groups, and we try to bring them to different areas, but, you know, it's getting people interested to learn.
Yeah.
I know that Black, you know, is having the reading group on the new Jim Crow
Mhm.
and that, but it's just hard to get people to come and think outside the box. I mean, they've done a great job of brainwashing.
Yeah. Yeah, and fear plays a big component in it,
Mhm.
you know. They're scaring the rest.
And probably need to be fearful, because to be careful, it's that bad. When the skin is this color, it's that bad.
Sorry, I want to say hi. Let's see, it's a little tough later.
So,
We've known each other in the past.
I mean, I'll tell you, one of the scariest events I covered was that Tea Party protest that they had here. That was freaking scary. You know?
Yeah.
I could cover anything in the city, but that was the scariest thing, even with RNC. That didn't scare me like the Tea Party one did. When they were dropping the concussion grenades and that didn't scare me like it did that Tea Party one.
I wasn't the Tea Party.
They were nuts.
What happened?
They were just nuts. And then this guy came after me because I asked him a question, a clarification question. And I guess I was too educated.
You mean like, sir, are you racist?
No,
He was
no,
like,
I asked, he said that something about the insurance companies, and I said, you mean AIG? And he's like, what do you know? No. And he came after me. That's when I went to Andy. Well, he was scared the crap out of me. I thought, you know, I'm dead. You know, because I asked
people.
Because, you know, I have, you know, knowledge of stuff, you know, and he just was spouting stuff
Yeah.
and didn't want to be challenged. It was scary. So,
I mean, I think that, like, the Republican Party and the Tea Party should be abolished, man. You know, they shouldn't have if we have anything, another party, it's got to be more progressive than Democrats.
Mhm.
You know,
oh yeah.
and you know,
Democrats
like,
are
they're the
progressive.
same as Republicans.
Yep.
So, you know, like we might as well get rid of those other two, Republicans and Tea Party. I don't know, like.
Do you put
People are
stuff-
saying the same stuff all the time, right? And they're putting out the same line all the time, and it never changes. Like, and we're trying to move forward and be a more progressive society. And, you know, you gotta nix out that and say, come with something better than this, or shut up, you know? Because we done already did that. You people done already, like, had control of this for the last, like, you know, 200-300 years, 400 years, you know, like, you've been running this and it ain't working, you know? It's the same shit, it ain't working, you know? How dumb you gonna be? Keep trying to put a round peg in a square hole, you know? So, come on, you know?
And they want to take us back to 1950s, but I don't know who the 1950s was good for, except for, you know,
Good old
white men.
White men, exactly.
Good old
One good for the women.
No.
Yeah,
One
This
good for
abortion
people of
stuff
color.
again?
wasn't good for us.
You know, but that's where they want to go back to.
What do you think about the voting and our electoral political system we have? I mean, would you want to see it abolished eventually, or like something obviously liberatory put into place. I don't know.
Ah, man, you know.
You just talked about abolishing 3 parties, so I thought maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not down with that. You know, like, I mean, I don't think that we're gonna bring about change vote.
Yeah.
I don't think that's gonna happen. You know, I think it's gonna be the same way that it has been all the other years before. You know, so people are gonna have to, like, you know, get down and dirty, and some people are gonna, like, get killed, and some people are gonna go to jail, and you know, that's just the way it's gonna be. You know.
I've come up with this theory, I've talked to Tim about it, that, you know, the Casa Comitatus,
Yeah.
you know, and that's why, like, they're, you know, militarizing the police, and even, like, the National Guard now was used over and in Iraq and that, so how can they come back and,
Right.
you know, patrol our streets like they did in Ferguson and that, because they're used in wars. And I think that that's a whole way to get around that posse comitatus, is that they can use the military on the streets in, you know, not necessarily the US military, but they're militarizing other areas. So they can use it.
Paramilitaries.
Huh?
Paramilitaries.
Right.
Yeah.
And then do you think that, you know, you would think you used, you know, violence, and you thinking that, you know, that the armed struggle was the way to do it? Do you still believe that's the only way? Or do you think that, well, what?
I don't think that, you know, unfortunately, you know, I don't think that here, you know, what maybe, you know, like, who knows, man, this stuff might fall the same way the Soviet Union fell, you know, just fumble and fall. I mean, they overextend themselves in wars and everything, and, you know, but I can't see, the United States was born the way it was born, you know, it was like, you know, killing the Native Americans, genocide there, bringing us here, bottoming them ships, setting up this whole thing, like, it's an oppressive way, and keeping their boot on Haiti, because they had the revolution, you know, and, you know, I don't see them the way they took Puerto Rico and Cuba and China, you know, it's like, ground is there in Iraq, they're still doing it, they got the drones, and, you know, we're gonna have to fight them, you know, and it's not like a belief in armed struggle or anything, like it's more self-defense, you know, and at some point it's gotta flip to that offensive, but right now it's just self-defense, it's all part of self-defense.
It's like an Asada Shakur quote, says nobody in the world or in history has ever gotten their freedom by trying to appeal to the moral nature of their person.
That's true. I mean, they know what they're doing. We just was talking about this before we came in. It's like the system's working perfectly well for them. It's running just the way they want it to run. You know? And they might model certain things in public and try and hoodwink the masses of people and believe one thing while they're doing something else, but it's running the way they want it to run. You know?
We're just doing Q&A, so you guys are. Right.
It's you know, hopefully it'll turn out the way that, because the army and a lot of those people that are in those are our people, and they won't turn their guns on us. Hopefully, you know, they'll like come around and just won't be doing it. But we're gonna definitely have to win them over, you know?
I mean, I just look at Haiti as an example. You know, they freed themselves. And since then, they've been punished since.
Yeah.
You know, and the idea that, I mean, that they had to pay reparations to France, you know, because they freed themselves. And yet, you know, like the United States, would they pay reparations? Hell no.
They won't give them to us.
Yeah, or Native Americans, but it's just like, that to me is an example of, you know, they want to set an example. You free yourself, this is what you get.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're real vindictive.
So go ahead.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, two things that I was inspired by this recently. It wasn't that recent. Whenever I found it out. I didn't figure it out, I found it out. That our Frederick Douglass statue was given to us by Haiti, which I think is really cool. Back in around, you know, in the 1800s, I think, pretty sure.
Wow. I didn't know that either.
Yeah, here in Rochester, if you got a chance to go by it, it's a really beautiful statue. Actually, Kazi, I wanted to ask you a couple things, because I haven't been in Boston for a while. I don't know if I used to work at Team Empowerment out there, and so
Yeah.
but I wondered how the organizing around political prisoners has been going. I wonder how Chuck is, since he's been home, and I wonder how your brother Arnie is doing.
Yeah. Well, Chuck is doing okay.
Yeah.
He's doing okay. He's you know, I saw him last week. He's doing okay.
Do you want to say quickly who Chuck is?
Chuck Turner is a city councilman in Boston. That's really, I mean, he's come from the people. He's like, he was working in trade unions and doing a lot of organizing in Boston for 20, 30 years before the people elected him city council, before he even wanted to run. He could have been mayor. They set him up like he was taking money. What was it?
$1,000.
Yeah. So they say he took like
Some guy that
$1,000.
wanted a liquor license.
Yeah. They said that I did the trial with him, and from everything I read, all the discovery that came in the trial, and I saw the whole thing, and I'm gonna tell you this, that they set him up cold, and Chuck never took any money. If something happened this day, this guy comes in named Ron Wilburn, and he's wearing a wire, and it's like this, and he goes, and he's talking to Chuck, he says, well, I just wanted to come in here to thank you for all the work that you was doing around helping me get a liquor license, right? And here, take your wife out to dinner. He slapped him like that.
With an envelope.
It was some money, it was something, it was green. He gave it to him, and Chuck looked at it and, what is this? You know, and put it away, right? And kept on talking to him. And he says, well, you know, I'm just doing my job. Chuck was like, I just, you know, because Diane had called him, Diane Wilkerson had called him, and she was taking money on some stuff.
She's in the state government.
Yeah, she was she was a senator, and she was taking money, and she told this dude, Ron Wilburn, to go see Chuck. But she had called Chuck, and he was her, you know how one senator will have in their district a city councilman that they have to go through in their district to bring things up, right? So she asked him, she called Chuck and asked him to get a meeting set up with the city council around liquor license in the black community, and he did. And that's what he did. That was his job.
We can talk offline about it.
That was his job.
But they were both like two of the few African American politicians.
Yeah.
And they were just totally railroaded and set up. Yeah.
But they, you know, they got Diane like 3 or 4 times on camera taking money, right? Chuck, they did it to him that one time.
They spent $29,000 to get him.
And they gave him 3 years, man. They gave him 3 years for lying to the FBI. And see, what happened was, and this is what happened was they asked him, they said, do you know this guy? And showed him a picture. And he said, I don't know, he looks familiar. I meet a lot of people. You know, he looks familiar. That's what he told them. They said I gave him 3 years for that.
It's ridiculous.
3 years for that, man. You know, you can't talk to the FBI.
No.
If the FBI ever comes and, you know, to question you about anything, you have to tell them, I don't have anything to say to you. Go see my lawyer. And if you don't have a lawyer, I'm gonna call. Give me your card. I'll have my lawyer call you. But I got nothing to say to you at all. Don't answer any questions that they have. I'll tell you two real quick ones. They asked Tariq when he came back from Jordan, and he went over there to try and join ISIS and stuff, right? Al-Qaeda, tried to join Al-Qaeda, right? So when he came back, they said, where is this dude, da-da-da-da-do? Where's he at? John something, right? And Tariq's like, I don't know, last time I saw him was in Jordan. That's the truth. That's the truth. He told him the truth about what he saw, but not what he heard. You know, so the FBI had tapped his phone and was listening to his conversations and heard this dude call him and say, I'm back, you know? But Tariq never saw him, but he knew he was back in the country. And so when the FBI asked him, where's this guy at? And he said, I don't know, last time I saw him was in Jordan. But you know.
That's true.
Yeah.
What?
But they got him for lying to the FBI and gave him 18 years.
Holy
Wait,
Yeah.
you can get time for lying to the FBI?
Yes.
It's a federal
Yeah, that's what I'm telling
You're
you.
not on stand.
That don't matter whether you understand or not. If you say anything to the FBI and they can prove that it's not true, no matter where you are, they can lock you up.
Well, it depends on who you are.
Yeah. If you're rich or you're a white man, you know, a rich white man, you only got to go to jail. But, you know, everybody else is going. You know, and we had this conference on grand jury resistance. And 3 of the people on the conference afterwards got indicted and locked up for talking to the FBI. And we said it. When everybody leaves the conference, everybody knows you can't talk to the FBI. And it's clear. But people still think that they can outsmart them. I mean, they are some dumb motherfuckers, but come on, man. You know, they twist the law. They twist the shit around to fit them.
Make it up.
You're not gonna win. You're not gonna win. Just don't say nothing. You know, and then they're gonna get you. Okay, then they're gonna get you if you don't say nothing. Because they passed this law last summer that they can give you. They gave this dude 10 years for criminal contempt for refusing to talk. So now they're gonna give you time for not talking. They give you time for talking, give you time for not talking, man. You go figure.
Yeah, they've been doing that though.
Mm.
I'm giving you immunity.
Yeah.
So you have no right not to tell me everything you know.
Yeah.
You know, you can't use plead the fifth because I might incriminate myself. That eliminates that if they give me immunity.
Right.
So I have to tell them everything we talked about in here tonight.
Are you,
Or I'll get 20 years. I'll keep you locked, they keep you no bail. In New York State, they keep you no bail on that. In this state here, right now, that's been in effect. But they only do it to the white folks. They just could railroad the law for us. Send me on to jail. But white folks, they had to make a new law for the ones that wanted to be closed mouth. Yeah? I don't see them do it here. Right? Yeah, it's documented. They done it right here in this state. Several them old reporters telling me they don't want to give up. They
yeah.
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 put their ass in jail.
Yeah.
You know, they got laws they got different laws for different people. That's just the truth. They got a law called the Alford plea.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah.
You could plead guilty without incriminating yourself. The only person in Rochester, New York, has ever been allowed to plead under the Alford plea is this guy for the fire department. He said, I'm pleading guilty because financially it would mess me up, blah, blah, blah. And they let him get it. Every case, I tried to do it personally. Use the Alford plea. They looked at me like I was crazy. And a lot of my friends tried to use that. Okay, I don't want to go to trial. I want to take the less time, but I don't want to incriminate myself.
Yeah, right.
What's wrong with that? Saving your money. They ain't going for it. They ain't never let not in Rochester, they've never let anyone use that. I think they may have let a second person use it, the former chief of police dude that got convicted.
Or how about trial by necessity? You know? They don't like people do that either.
No.
What is that?
It's like, well, I had to do this because of the greater necessity, greater good, that I had to break this law to help prevent this other stuff from happening, Amy Carter did that one. That's how she got off.
What did Amy Carter do? I don't remember that one.
She got arrested for some nuclear stuff, protesting, like Daniel Ellsberg and them did with the blood and stuff.
Snowden? Snowden?
No, Snowden exposed shit. I mean, he opened up some stuff.
Yeah.
And that's really messed up too, because they wanna punish people for doing what they're supposed to do, the right thing.
And they have.
Yeah, I know.
They've been,
I know.
Obama's administration been the worst on whistleblowers.
I know.
So, I mean, look at Ellsberg. He was the most dangerous man in America at one point because of the Pentagon Papers.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. The whistleblower thing is the only thing that can bring about some change with the police. Police is not telling on another police. The repercussions is too big, and people like Snowden, they're gonna demonize it. But everything he didn't reveal no lies.
Right.
Nobody can see if he was surprised.
I know. It's all the truth, man.
WTF? It's a sin to tell the truth.
Yeah.
To reveal the truth.
Yeah. So, got some work to do.
What do we do?
Got some work to do. Got some work to do, And I mean, everybody's known it ever since about divide and conquer. So everybody's known about it. And so we can't let them keep dividing us, We gotta keep building unity. That's the only way we can win.
How do you do that?
Yeah. Talk to people.
Yeah.
Get out there.
Come with struggle. Know your history.
Yeah.
Own your history.
Own your history.
Who owns this building?
And you wanna know about
Do you
my
guys own the
brother?
building?
It's a collective.
About my brother, he's been locked up 43 years now, since he was 18. And
Oh, he's a great man.
they passes laws. They got one now, the US Supreme Court ruled that it's unconstitutional for juveniles to get life without the possibility of parole. And Massachusetts adopted 2 years ago. So they still got 60 people locked up that was like 17, 18 years old, 16, 17, 18 years old for the last 30, 40 years. And they starting to let a few out, but they still got a lot locked up, about 60 still. And I don't know, I don't have any faith in the parole board. It's a fascist board, and you know, a couple years ago, Arnie got a unanimous decision from the parole board for release in '07. And before the governor signed the thing, because he had to sign the paper, it took like 10 months for him to sign it. Before he signed it, somebody who was on parole killed a cop. Yeah, killed a cop.
It's all it takes.
Yeah, when that happened, man,
Oh, yeah.
he had gotten parole. He was a lifer. He had gotten parole. He killed a cop, and they fired the whole parole board. They got a new board. They brought in this guy that was real fascist dude. He had written like 3-4 motions to keep me out of court from working and shit. And they brought him in as the head of the parole board, and no lifers got no parole after that. Forget about it, man. And you know, it's people, you know, they got to get rid of the board.
Yeah.
And they got to do a whole lot of other things, but I don't have any faith in that. And I think we're gonna have to go back into court and try and do something. You know, it's just been so long. It's just 43 years. It's been a long, you know, I just don't think that,
Right, it's a total waste for Arnie to not be out in the community doing the work that he's
yeah,
already doing and would be capable of doing.
yeah,
If you don't mind telling us, what was he convicted of?
murder. It's the only thing you can get life without the possibility of parole for.
Okay.
It's murder.
So can I share like how the youth organizers got to meet him? And,
Yeah.
so Arnie, and correct anything or add on because I only know pieces. Arnie started a program called Prison Voices inside with lifers where they can tell their stories and young people come in. So I think that the prison seems to like it because it's sort of like a Scared Straight-ish kind of idea, but not really, like they don't do it like Scared Straight, but they, and plus the lifers, some of them have some crazy stories.
Yeah.
But their whole point is to like say like, don't take all these steps that I was taking that then landed me in this position. But what's really was cool, and I was looking online, I don't think it looks like it's going on anymore, but there was an organization called the City School that was like a partner organization that Teen Empowerment used to work with a lot, did a lot of youth leadership stuff, and they had something called the Prison Empowerment Project on the outside, and that's how the youth organizers got to go in. And Begway, so Begway and E-Rock were just here
Oh, really?
about 3-4 weeks ago doing a show
okay.
and workshops for youth and stuff. But
Okay.
so Begway used to run the Prison Empower Facilitator or whatever, and so they would do all these workshops with youth around the prison industrial complex, getting young people to be thinking creatively about like, how do we solve how do we deal with the damage that is being done in our community because of all these social issues that are pressing on people. So what do we do differently, and really creatively thinking, and then they go in and meet these gentlemen, and Arnie is just like his spirit is just like he's a soul, like he's just a walking soul to me, like when I met him. But he anyway, so they got that chance, and then they also, the Prison Empowerment Project does the project that Arnie runs, and they also did like women's jail, and some others. But I don't know, is that still going? Is he still doing all that? Or?
Well, they took some. The prison took away some of the programs, and now they run them.
Because
there's
that's a work.
Yeah.
They were working, they got us.
Yeah, you know,
Which might be why the Prison Empowerment Project seems to not be around anymore.
yeah. And city schools having problems too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They're looking for a new director,
Right.
co-directors. It's ongoing.
Yeah.
You know, same stuff going on everywhere.
Right.
We're just trying to like survive and keep building, looking for different ways, you know, to build. You know. It's hard, man.
Well, thank you so much for coming and
Thank
speaking
you.
today.
Well, it was
That's
really
good.
good, man. You know, seeing everybody, and Jaleel wanted me to tell everybody.
Where's the biggest guy?
He wanted me to tell everybody hi. You know, and keep up with the work. You know.
Yep.
He's hopefully get this this COINTELPRO thing going.
Did you want to say something about the petition you were telling me about earlier?
That petition?
Yeah.
That COINTELPRO petition, Jaleel was gonna like stock one up, and you know, hopefully, if we get enough signatures on it, it could be a way of getting some people out. You know, people who have been victims of COINTELPRO. And, you know, but you know, like it's, you know, we have to try everything.
Yeah,
We had-
last year we tried, we got some signatures, we went down here to the parole office, when Jalil was getting ready to go to board the last time. You know, you gotta keep trying.
Yeah.
But I knew.
He appealed that. I mean, he's fighting that now. He's waiting to see. He told me he might get a hearing on that within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I just know it's rigged. It's rigged, man. I'm telling you, New York State is rigged. It's crazy, man.
How many people on a parole board here?
Three.
Three?
Three.
Three people.
Three. Yeah. The one that's the head of it used to do the parole here. He's damn near Tea Party. He's damn near Tea Party, man.
Damn.
I can't.
So they got the same kind of board.
And now you don't even meet them half the time, but you know.
He told me that. He said,
They said they gotta see them on the screen.
Yeah, he told me that.
God.
And you know, you can't have anybody like, you know, like up there, you can have 100 people come or 50 people come to your hearing.
Right.
You can't do that here.
No.
They don't have anybody. Nobody goes to a hearing here.
Right.
How do you get
It's
on the
all
parole
on
board?
paper. That's crazy.
Victims, I think, can go.
Are you appointed?
I think
Yeah.
victims
To be a
can-
judge.
Yeah, that's not
Or
something
they
you
can
get
weigh in
elected
or
to.
something.
I don't know.
You know, you know, people like, what we did in Boston years ago was we got with people in the legislators and, you know, some of the Black Caucus and some of the people, and we got with some of the church people, put together a little committee and wrote some things, legislation to keep to get more people with psychosocial backgrounds on the parole board, to get rid of people with law enforcement, to get rid of people that,
Yeah.
you know, we had to do that to get them off the board, to make the board more understanding
Rehabilitative
of,
or
like the board,
something.
people have people on there to understand people's social conditions and how they got to, you know, more understanding.
Yeah.
And
You
it
know,
does make sense.
craft-
I mean, they're more expert.
Yeah, craft it in something, that kind of way, and then get rid of those people. We'll have to go do it again in Boston, but, you know, I just don't have the energy and stuff to do a lot of stuff anymore. You know, to tell you the truth.
You've worked really hard.
But I'm tired, man. I'm tired, I keep going,
I'm
but,
seeing a lot more white than I remember.
yeah, man, you can see what's happening with me, man. You know, shoot. And I got, you know,
Somebody can come in here right now and kill every single one of us in here right now, and he will get parole. Kill one police.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they'll make him a hero.
Oh, yeah.
Say, I'll make you famous.
You know, nobody's life.
Famous, man.
Nobody's life should, as far as I'm concerned, ain't nobody's life more important than mine.
No,
My life is just as valuable as
it's
anybody.
everybody else's,
You
man.
know,
And that's how I feel too.
Yeah, man. If you think somebody can be rehabilitated 20 years after killing me, then they should be able to be rehabilitated 20 years after killing anybody else. Anybody.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I hope y'all
All right.
Well, thank
some
you.
success, man, in your continued work.
with African roots.